So I love getting requests, and I got a lot of requests for these. Empanadas, made healthy vegan style with no oil and no refined wheat. They're absolutely delicious, and today I'm going to show you how to make your own. All right, so for the empanadas, we're actually going to make the filling first. And after we make the filling and get it cooked, we're going to sit it aside, and while it's cooling, we'll put together the crust. Let's talk about what we're going to use to make that filling. We're going to use some portobello mushrooms that I have here. We're going to use some nutritional yeast, oregano, some cumin, some smoked paprika, some white pepper, tomato paste, and a couple of cloves of garlic. I'm also going to use some walnuts, super healthy, I eat them all the time, lentils, something else I eat daily, some jalapeno pepper, that's optional. If you don't like heat, you can leave out the jalapenos, although we're not including the seeds, so it's not particularly hot, but you may want to omit them all together, and you can do that. We're using some red pepper, and then we're using some onion and some coconut aminos, and this is what we're going to use to make the filling. Let's get that started, and then we'll get that crust put together.
The first thing we're going to do to make the filling is get the walnuts and the mushrooms pulsed in the food processor. Now, since mushrooms shrink significantly when they're cooked, you want to take care not to over-process them, or it can make your filling mushy.
All right, so now I've got my mushrooms and my walnuts processed to where I want them. Now it's time to get the rest of the ingredients to our filling in the pan and put together.
Okay, so we're going to start by sauteing our onions in a little water for a minute or so. Then add the crushed garlic and get that mixed up. Then it's time to add the chopped mushrooms and cook them on high until all the excess water cooks off. Then we can add the peppers and the jalapenos and get those mixed in. Next, it's time to add all of the seasonings and coconut aminos and get that mixed in really well. Then add the chopped walnuts and tomato paste and mix well to combine. And finally, the cooked lentils. Now take care when mixing them so that they don't break up.
Okay, so now I have my filling done. I'm just going to get it set aside, and while it's cooling, now we're going to start making our crust. All right, I hope you're enjoying the recipe so far. Now, I want to take a quick minute to talk about a topic that I get a lot of questions about, which is supplementation. Now, it's important to know that there's some essential vitamins and minerals that could be difficult to get in adequate amounts on a plant-based diet, and that supplementation may help maintain optimal levels. Now, to complement my plant-based diet, I take the Complement Essential Vitamin. It's been designed specifically to complement a plant-based diet containing 8 vitamins and minerals that play a vital role in how we feel both short and long term by supporting energy levels, regulating metabolism, supporting immunity, heart and brain health, and so much more. And another thing I like is that it's an all-in-one supplement, which means you don't have to go out and buy several bottles to cover your supplement needs. Now, I partner with Complement to offer you a 15% discount on Essential or any of their products by using code HEALTHYVEGAN. So check out the descriptions below for the details. Let's get back to the recipe. Okay, so now it's time to put together the crust. Let's talk about what we're going to use to do that. We're going to use some almond flour here. We're going to use some ground flax, some turmeric, some arrowroot powder, and some water. Now, what you don't see here are salt and baking powder, but you could use those, particularly if you want a lighter crust. Then you could use some baking powder, and if you want a little bit, of more of a salty flavor, you could add some salt. Now, in the recipe, I'm going to add the amounts of salt and baking powder that I know will work. And if you want to use it, you can. If you don't want to use it, you don't have to. I'm fine with the texture, not using either, and the flavor. Now, also for those of you who are concerned about baking powder and baking soda, in my Healthy Vegan app at hveating.com, I have a homemade baking powder that's really, really clean. It's a really good baking powder if you want to use baking powder. And I also break down the brands of baking soda and baking powder that I think are the best according to, by where they're sourced and the process that they undergo. So you can check that out in my Healthy Vegan app at hveating.com. All right, let's start putting our crust together. Then we'll get our filling in and get these in the oven.
So to make the dough, we're going to first make a flax egg by combining the ground flax and water, then we'll set it aside. Next, we'll get our dry ingredients together by combining the almond flour, arrowroot powder, and turmeric and mixing them. Then it's time to add our flax egg mixture and mix it really well until it comes together to form a ball.
All right, so now I've got my dough formed into a nice ball here. Now I want to roll it out in half, so I'm just going to cut this in half and roll half of it now. And once I get one half rolled out, into our crust. Then I'll do the other half into the rest of the crust.
Now, to prevent the dough from sticking, I'm going to roll it between 2 pieces of parchment paper.
Okay, so now I've got my dough rolled out here. Now it's time to get it cut so that we can form our individual pieces of crust. Now I'm gonna use a 6-inch bowl here. If you have a bowl that's about 6 inches, traditionally that's about the size you wanna use. You can make them a little larger if you want it, a little smaller if you want. But this is about perfect to me. So I'm gonna use this as my mold. I'm just gonna put it here and then use my knife to cut around it.
Okay, so once you've got your circles cut out, you want to gather the scrap pieces so you can roll them out later. And then it's time to add the filling to your rolled circles. Now to do this, you're going to add a few tablespoons of filling onto just under half of your circle. Now make sure to leave a little space around the edge to seal your empanada. And also remember that this is gluten-free dough, so it will not stretch, so you need to be careful not to overfill your empanadas or the dough is likely to tear. Finish them off by using a fork to seal the edges and then get them onto your baking sheet. And then finally, use a fork to poke the top of each empanada a couple of times.
All right, so now I've got them all formed into pockets here and they look great. Now, you see 7 here on the tray, but I actually have enough to make 2 more, but there's no more room on the tray. So I'll just make those for a second pan. So this recipe typically makes about 7 to 10, depending on how large you make them. The next step here is I'm gonna get these in the freezer for about 20 minutes. And after 20 minutes, I'll take them out, get them in the oven and give them a final bake. All right, so our empanadas are done and they look absolutely delicious. I even made a little of my cilantro lime sauce to dip them in. My cilantro lime sauce might be my most popular sauce. If you want to see the recipe, check the descriptions below the video and you'll see a recipe to my cilantro lime sauce. That is so good. The sauce, the empanada, perfect combination, lots of flavor. You gotta make these, you will love them. All right, if you're new to my channel and you're wondering how to find the recipes, look below the video and tap on the word more and you'll see the beginning of the recipe. Tap on the word more a second time and you'll see the full recipe and then you can begin to make your own. Thanks for watching.